Welcome to the London Outlook for Friday, the 1st of March 2024. Starting off with the economic calendar as we usually do. We've got some red folder news events for the New York session. However, it's quite late in the New York session, approximately 2 hours into the New York session. The red folder news is not as significant as something as GDP, CPI, or interest rates, and thus for that reason, um, we can have our trades open and then manage open positions according to how the news is released. Alternatively, we can also trade based on the idea that alternatively we can trade based on whether the news will actually be in our favor and allow the news release to trigger an entry. However, being it a Friday and quite close to the end of the London cross, perhaps not ideal in this situation, but valid nonetheless. Having said that, we'll chat about a bit more about the USD news releases in the New York Outlook. But let's move on to the charts and then unpack what's going on for today. So, from a daily perspective, what you can see is that we have three consecutive bearish candles, thus suggesting that today is likely to be a bullish day. Having said that, moving on to the 4-hour charts, in terms of market structure, nothing really has changed. We understand that we recently had the change of character, then the break of structure, and now we're hoping to actually target this external range liquidity, although we've been stuck in quite a bit of a range for some time. Last week Friday, what we do know is that the pullback phase was extended, and I'll mark that onto the charts right now. So initially we had a pullback phase leg like this. Once it achieved the protrend extreme and the last point of supplies failed, we knew that the protrend primary leg, which was this leg right here, was likely to take out this. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, and what then happened is forward order flow validated that demand was in control, and we actually targeted this unconfirmed swing higher, lower high. And then subsequently, last week Friday, we extended this pullback phase leg with the body break right there, and that meant that we could validate the pullback phase last point of supply with the objective of potentially targeting this substructure high to bring us deeper into the protrend extreme. Um, However, yesterday what happened is after the pullback phase reaction, we actually had another reaction which pushed us deeper into the pullback phase, and while the protrend leg is the more highly probable outcome, we can't ignore the fact that counter-trend trades might still play out, given that we're having these deep reactions into the leg. So having said all of that, and the fact that we have a daily bias for longs, our primary focus for today will be on finding long opportunities. And having said all of that, let's just unpack what's going on the 5 minute. We know that we had the proton extreme reaction last week Thursday that created quite a large leg, and that leg essentially served as a range for a week at this point, Thursday to Thursday, and we're still inside this range right here. And now this morning we know that our daily bias is longs, and we actually have a deeper interaction with this pullback phase OB. Obviously we don't count this interaction because it didn't lead to a break of structure, so it's potentially going to be used as liquidity. However, the reactions subsequently remain valid, so we'll continue on the premise that this is the deepest reaction of the pullback phase last point of supply after the validation of the pullback leg, and this results in this leg right here. Whilst yesterday was a completely bearish day, we do understand that we're anticipating a bullish day today, and there is a chance that we may be wicked by taking out the previous day low. However, per our rules, we can anchor our fib to the current extreme and the previous low of the day, provided that there's daily bias to support why that leg should hold. And since there is daily bias to support why we should anticipate longs, I've got this order which I will set closer to the Frankfurt Open. I don't want to be tagged into this entry in Asia, so I'm going to set this alert to tell me to set the order as we approach the Asia session, the Frankfurt session, so that if the Frankfurt session does push in and we get triggered, then at least there's reason to consider longs. In addition to why this also makes sense is the fact that we have day 2 Asia liquidity that's unswept at the top right here, and since it's quite recent Asia liquidity, there's reason to believe why we will target this today. Because from day 3 onwards, it becomes somewhat unlikely that this liquidity will be targeted within the recent price action, and is likely to be liquidity for future market direction changes. Having said all of that, um, what are the options for London navigation? Like I said, higher time frame narrative supports longs overall. So if we want to long, we'd ideally want this Asia low to be liquidated, and then have your Frankfurt low of the day validated by London, and then we can take an entry. Alternatively, because we do have a validation for trading based on a previous low of the day to the extreme, we can then consider this limit order where we anticipate where the current low of the day is likely to be created. And then obviously, if that plays out, the ideal scenario would be that the Asia highs remain intact and we come in, take this order, and then have this as liquidity, at which point we can break even, with the ultimate objective of targeting this liquidity right here. Obviously, if London puts in the low of the day, then we're in a bit of a jam, as we have to essentially wait for New York to validate it. So this would be on the assumption that we're not trading based on where we expect the low of the day to be. So let's assume that Frankfurt just wicks this and then London comes deeper without taking our entry, making a London low of the day. In order to validate this London low of the day, we'd need New York to validate London by the New York session breaking the London high range, at which point we'll have confirmation that this is likely to hold, and then we can consider taking an entry. Alternatively, New York will put in the low of the day, and then we'd have negative USD news to then support why longs make sense, but that's also not an ideal probability, because this news comes out quite late in the session, and we'd like to close our trades by 6 p.m. So this news ideally should serve as a catalyst to continue to support why a trade that we are in already will reach the intended target of in and around that area. In terms of daily range, we know it's about 78 pips at the moment for February, so that's 73 pips, so there should be enough range to actually reach this target right here, but that remains to be seen. And yeah, I guess we'll unpack the details a bit more in the New York session as we understand how things progress. But for the moment, this is what order I will be setting coming into the Frankfurt session. And then obviously I got alerts for understanding which side of the Asia range will be swept, and then I'll closely monitor Frankfurt and London opens to then make sure that my decision process is sound. Other than that, I hope you have a good trading session, and we'll chat again for the New York outlook.